We have our first head coaching firing in college football among the Power 5 conferences. Now, this is the third head coaching firing overall in the 2020 college football season. We've already had Southern Miss and Utah State fire their head coaches, and today South Carolina has fired Will Muschamp. This comes after South Carolina fell to Ole Miss last night to go to 2-5 on the season. And that included giving up 708 yards of offense to Ole Miss and allowing 159 points during their current 3-game losing streak. So as for now, offensive coordinator Mike Bobo will be the interim head coach for South Carolina. Now, as far as the next head coach for South Carolina is concerned, two names that are already coming to mind are Billy Napier for Louisiana and Hugh Freeze out of Liberty. Now, Hugh Freeze has coached in the SEC Conference before, the former head coach at Ole Miss, ultimately before he ended up being fired by Ole Miss out of the recruiting violations and even the scandals at Ole Miss. So, where will Will Muschamp end up in 2021? I don't think the coaching career of Will Muschamp is even close to being over. I mean, we know how good of a defensive coordinator Will Muschamp is, and I anticipate him being a defensive coordinator somewhere next season. Now, one team that comes into mind is Nebraska. Now, Nebraska has really struggled on defense with Eric Chinander as the defensive coordinator. So if Eric Chinander were to be fired at the end of the season, I feel like Will Muschamp is going to get a call in an instant. In fact, I would imagine that Will Muschamp is going to have his phone and he's going to be waiting for defensive coordinator positions to open up. And I wasn't really expecting this firing this early on. I would have anticipated that they would have at least waited until the end of the season. In fact, I didn't really expect many coaching firings this season due to the 2020 circumstances with teams not getting the fully amount of training facilities available to them and unfortunately not as much practice, not as much camp as teams are used to in normal years. This ultimately begs the question, is there going to be another Power 5 head coach that is going to get fired by the end of the season? I know that Jim Harbaugh could potentially be on that hot seat. Some think that Tom Herman could be on the hot seat as well. I would honestly be surprised if we saw Jim Harbaugh or Tom Herman get fired at the end of the season, because I think that those are some programs that are going to blame the lack of training in the off season as a reason why their teams weren't winning. And with South Carolina moving forward, I don't know, do they really have to fire Will Muschamp this early in the season? I mean, the final nail in Will Muschamp's coffin as the head coach of South Carolina, 708 total yards of offense and 59 points. I mean, it's Ole Miss. I mean, did you not see how Ole Miss competed against Alabama? Ole Miss is a very underrated team, and their record doesn't show that. But they're an underrated team. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave Texas A&M a run for their money this Saturday in College Station. Now, I thought that Will Muschamp was also going to be safe, at least until 2021, based off of the upsets that he's pulled in the last 2 years. This year, earlier in the season against Auburn, and last year against Georgia. Now, I saw a stream from Stillwater Sports Cards, and he was saying that Will Muschamp just seems to be good for one upset a season, and that's mediocre pretty much the rest of the season. And it's evident. I mean, Will Muschamp, he's not even close to being above 500, if he's even at 500, as far as a head coach is concerned at South Carolina. But Will Muschamp won't be unemployed in the college football world very long, as I anticipate him being a defensive coordinator somewhere next season. So, will we see more head coaching firings the later on we get into the season? Or will this just be kind of the last major one until the end of the season, really? So, comment your thoughts down below, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Be sure to stay tuned for my Week 12 college football predictions tomorrow afternoon. So I will talk to you then. Have a good night. Have a good day whenever you're watching this, and I'll talk to you later.